Hello everyone, my name is Joe Gorp. I'm CEO of CourseAvenue, and today I'm going to take a quick run through, as quick as I can actually, through CourseAvenue Studio. Now, CourseAvenue Studio is a large-scale authoring platform with a lot of features in there, and my challenge is to give you a good overview without diving into all those gory details, thinking that if you're interested, we can talk more about any given feature function point along the way in the future. Real quick, I have one slide, basically, well, the intro slide, and then this slide. The questions that founded CourseAvenue Studio are these two. Number one, how can we streamline and scale the current or traditional course development process? And fundamentally it comes down to, I'm an enterprise, I'm building very valuable online education. I may have dozens of people involved in that process, and I have an authoring tool. A $1,200 desktop thing, probably, maybe web-based, but there just seems like a schism there, right? Between enterprise class delivery and education and an authoring tool. It's tactical, arguably. That's the first thing we wanted to address. And then the second thing was, let's say we're successful. Let's say we have a lot of courses. Well, the one thing we know in the industry is that as soon as you create the course, someone wants to change it, right? They want to put their logo on, they want to put their color scheme, they want their CFO, CEO, whoever to review it, make slight tweaks. Hey, can we change this? Can we put our forms in there and those kind of things? So, why not just build that into the process? And if we're going to be successful, how can we manage both the customization aspect and the distribution aspect? Like we made all these courses, we have all these customers. Well, how do we know who has what course? So those are the two foundational pieces that make up CourseAvenue Studio. And today I'm just going to talk about the first one. The second one about we call syndication. We call hybrid e-learning is for the customizations, and then syndication. We're not going to talk about that today. That's just, I'll be here for a long time, and I could talk about it for a long time, but we're trying to make this pretty quick. So we're going to focus really on what is an authoring process, or what does an enterprise authoring framework look like, and we're just going to dive right into our federal instance. We're largely popular in the federal space, and so our goal was, hey, if we can handle an agency the size of the USDA, I think we can handle smaller organizations or companies that are trying to do the similar thing. So we've proven to work. It's been great success, and we're just going to give you now a quick walkthrough of our federal instance, kind of explain to you how things look and feel in the overall CourseAvenue Studio product. So with that, let me close this camera and hop on a browser. All right, see you, bye. All right, I'm going to be quick about this, so feel free to pause and rewind to your heart's content. I logged in as myself, and I'm in the root org. And what do I mean by that? Well, CourseAvenue, as we support our customers, they get put into, here's a surprise, an organization. So the first question of how do I manage large-scale authoring? Well, the first thing you do is you have an organizational framework, because you're going to have supporting lots of different customers or in different instances. And so I'm going to start kind of down here in this lower left corner. Again, visually, you can think of it like I logged in as the root org. If I manage my enterprise being CourseAvenue, well, underneath CourseAvenue, we have the U.S. government. And underneath the U.S. government, we have a lot of different agencies. So this is actually how we support our customers. And if someone were to buy our product and use it for their customers, you could do the same thing. So when I mentioned, for example, the USDA, if I click the USDA logo or element in the tree, I can hit the mimic button. And now it's like you can think of I've descended down into this customer, the USDA's world, and I'm going to become the CourseAvenue admin in there. Now, this looks very similar, right? This looks very similar because this is now I've put on my USDA AgLearn hat, which is the name of their enterprise learning management system. So now if I were to click Manage Enterprise, I can only see the USDA organizations, the sub-orgs we call them. And then you can just nest these down as far as you want. I mean, there are practical limits, right? But USDA, the Forest Service is under the USDA, and then there's a group of people that do research within the Forest Service, so we had set up their own organization. So again, each one of these is an organization, and we, as the super administrator, can assign and allow as much or as little freedom as we want. So for Forest Service, there can be a Forest Service administrator who can then oversee the two sub-orgs, or we can limit them to just the Forest Service. So there's a whole complicated framework of assets and structure that we can apply here and make. It's a very flexible way to actually manage it. And again, it's how we manage a lot of federal content. So I'm going to go back up to my organization, and I'm just going to step into So HHS, right? The CDC is under the HHS. And if I click the CDC, I'm going to mimic them. I'm going to pretend to be an administrator. So now, again, I have my CDC hat on, if you will. One of the things that we know is important is branding, color schemes, logos. And we know even within the U.S. government, the Forest Service green versus USDA green, or the CDC and HHS, they may want their own look and feel and branding. Well, we manage that through a thing called player skins. Now, one of the things about this is we understand that not everyone in the course development process needs to mess around with trying to figure out the hex code for the CDC blue, right? I mean, you don't need everyone to know how to do that. So, the way we manage things, we have a graphics person, and that graphics person can focus really on the player skin aspects of it. These are underlying, like the next button. What are the audio controls? What's the background? Things that you're going to want to be consistent across lots of different courses. Why should every subject matter expert or instructional designer have to worry about, again, the hex code for the CDC blue? Now, what this is in this organization, I have a lot of different player skins. We're testing out a parchment because we want a special look and feel that makes it looks like a ship map, if you will. We brought the USDA in here, and if I click on the CDC, we have an HHS one. So for HHS is different. This is what an HHS course would look like. Let me go back to here. And then the CDC, and then we can assign a default. So in this organization, the CDC is the default org, and you can modify it. Let me step back up here. This one we've limited the modifications for the CDC for a whole slew of reasons I won't go into. But in this case, we have the USDA default. Let me take a look at within the USDA. We had another one for USDA Rule Development Lending. It's a whole other brand, but as you're building your courses, you can hit the preview button and look at the course you're developing with any player skin. That's just built into the product. If I click the modify skin, I knew it. In the USDA one, just for grins, we have this ability. This is how with the right role and permission, you and your team, maybe just your graphics person, could actually update any of these elements. So there's nothing fancy here. And if you really want to go deep, you can bring up some of the XML behind the skin. I meant to click on this, the CSS. So if you're really tech geeky, you can go in here and have at it. We're not trying to hide anything. We just want to let people be able to manage the player skins, the look and feel, because we know it's important. Especially if you're distributing e-learning and you have customers, you're going to want to distribute and probably tailor it to their needs, to their color scheme, their logo. We want to make it easy, but we don't want to burden everybody that's creating a course or updating a logo for somebody to have to deal with all those things. So again, organizational framework. I'm in CourseAvenue. My customer is HHS. Within that, there's a group called the CDC. And within that, they have player skins, look and feel. Over here, now if I stay within the CDC, I can manage teams of people, right? So I talked earlier about the challenges that comes with putting all the burden on the author, using the authoring tool. Well, like in this case, we have, I'm going to pick this one team down here. We have a group of executives and managers, and we wanted a bunch of people's input. So we set up a team. We're building this new course for them, and we, CourseAvenue, are on the team, and so are some other people. And I'm not going to go through all the gory details, but there's a lot of people that just have, let's Andrea. She's a page editor and a question creator. She can't change properties in the course. She can't change the overall structure. She can't change a lot of things, but she can. She's a copy editor, let's say, or a subject matter expert. Well, why not? Instead of emailing her the results or having her preview a legacy version, let her just contribute directly on the course. And that's really, really important. If you trust her to do your job, why not let her edit the course? She's probably pretty smart, and she can do that. And then Reese, he doesn't want to be burdened with that, so he's on. All we want is Reese's input. So again, I could talk for another hour about teams and those kind of things, and there's a fine-grained elements of different roles and permissions you can add, and you can actually create your own roles or permissions if you want to. But again, so organizationally, we have a hierarchy of organizations. Within that, we have teams. We can manage the teams, and there's a role called team manager, and you can do that as well. And then another aspect of the product is the notion of media, right? And we know in a large scale, you're going to want to share assets across courses. Another problem with the desktop authoring model is we have the F drive, right? The share drive, and we're going to put our reusable assets and shared assets, whatever, but it's probably outside the context of a course. So you're going to require someone to have access to your F drive or whatever it is, or their Google Drive. So in CourseAvenue Studio, we have this concept of media libraries. And in this case, this isn't necessarily a best practice, but first of all, we have inherited libraries. So think about it this way. CourseAvenue, at the highest level, we have media we want to share with our customers. And if you're watching this and you want to use CourseAvenue, you could have your media assets and share those with your customers. You can share them in read-only rights if you want, which is probably recommended, or in full edit mode. Because we're in the CDC, which is under HHS, there may be media, or there is media at the HHS level, like the HHS logo, let's say, that should be managed and maintained in that hierarchy. So again, CDC has their internal libraries, these three over here, and they also inherited libraries. Now, if I click on the managing the categories, which I didn't click on, lets you just basically come in here and look at different things in these different folder structures. So I'm not going to go through all these, but let's take a look at this information security awareness. So this is a library because our focus with the CDC was on ISA, information security awareness, and so we can see a lot of different things. So if I click on graphics, the CourseAvenue. Now, we didn't put these in our library. For whatever reason, we brought these right into the CDC organizational library. And what I really want to show is, hey, confrontation and office bordered. So whatever this is, an important aspect of this is not only can I share media, but if I click on the Where Used utility, this shows me every course. So it's in this organization, it's in this course, it's on a question, and the name of the question is CS3 Hostile Insider, What is True? You can see we've copied that a lot of different places, but the point is different courses, this course, this course, this course. So it's a popular image. And the neat thing is we can maintain that image right in here. So literally, if we change this media object, it'll be reflected in all the other courses. Now, yes, you'll have to republish those courses because this is a development environment. And just to be sure, you tend to publish the courses out to in SCORM format or Simple Web or SCORM 2004, but wherever you want to get it in your LMS. The point is, I now know where this media object is used, which is infinitely more valuable than trying to hunt it down on the F drive when you have no idea who used this and meetings, and you don't even know the impact. So right here I have this file. If I updated this, if I had a different image, there's a media history that's kept, and I can tell whether I can put the description in, and in this case it's a decorative image for those of you that are concerned with 5-way compliance. And again, the Where Used utility here is it's used in these different areas. So again, not a training course, but the real essence is shared media. And by the way, it's not just JPEGs. As I may have mentioned, URL links, the old way of doing it, highlight it, Control K, type in your hyperlink. Well, guess what? You've now hard-coded that hyperlink on that page in that course. And invariably, the hyperlink is going to change, right? We know that. Everyone that's ever built a course knows that the hyperlinks are almost always going to change. So we really recommend putting hyperlinks as in the media library. Therefore, when they change, you can change it in one place, and at least nothing else what courses use them. So that is, again, I've gone through my enterprise framework, player skins, teams of people working together, assigning roles, and then we look at courses. So all that actually to support the course development process. Why haven't I talked about that? Because I really want to stress again, this is what a platform is all about. It's not really about enabling one person to do one course. It's how do I set up that framework to manage the large-scale effort. So let me take a quick break, and now we're going to take a look at actual more course information. So let me take a break, and we'll come right back. Okay, we're going to dive into courses. And so I'm going to focus really on this list view. It's a more modern way of looking at your courses. And when I click on it, there's a lot going on here. But one of the first things is, how do you manage hundreds of courses and all these different teams and different roles? Well, I logged in as the CourseAvenue administrator, and I can limit my view to just only certain teams, which is really helpful. By the way, my courses are courses that you as an individual are solely working on. No one else can really have access to them. And so sometimes you just want to work on a course outside of the team context. That's fine. or if I want to deselect and I just want to really focus on a given area, a given team, I can do that as well. But for now, let me look at all my teams, or all the teams and all the courses in those teams, and there's 30 rows on overall. So there's a fairly large amount of courses here. One key feature function is how I use teams. I click on the course operations button, and I can transfer this course to a contributor or a team, which is very powerful. Some customers use this as workflow. First pass review, second pass review, pre-publication, and then the publication team, let's say. And then only the publication team has rights to literally hit the publish button. So there's lots of different ways to configure this, but the notion of building a course and moving it through a 1-2- a sequential workflow process is very encouraging. That is the best practice of how we facilitate moving courses around through a workflow. I'm going to click on the little edit button, and the CourseAvenue editor is coming up. I'm not going to spend, I can spend, we do hours of the training on this particular, on the editor itself. So let me, I see I'm off in this little window here. And so we have a course. Overall course properties, which, things like what's the name of the course, the description, if there's time limits. I'm not going to go through every one of these features. I am going to talk about the hybrid course in a second, but I'll come back to that. Scoring options, basically, if you can dream up a scenario for how you want to deliver your course and what different designs, you can pretty much do it here. So there's so many different options. I really can't go through them all. One of the highlights I want to mention is when you think about course reviews and teams of people working together, there is an integrated notes feature. So it's basically you can have a threaded discussion group. So when you log in, the reason this is red is because I have 2 unread notes at this level. And if I click on, I see one of those is right here on the quiz. And this is just someone letting me know that, oh gosh, we didn't label this. It should have been an unscored because it's just a knowledge check. And so it's a very handy way for teams of people to work together, and then it's in the course context. As you're working on the course, anyone, even a reviewer. So we have this concept of a reviewer license, where you don't want remember I think I showed you the one example from the CDC. Well, that person they can't edit the content, but they can still let their thoughts be shared in the notes thing. And again, it's a very handy, you come back 6 months from now, like, why did we do that? Well, I can tell you why, because it should be in the notes product. Overall, in this course tree, we do have sections of course content. Sections have lessons, and lessons have pages. It is proven to work on a very large scale. We have people that have built courses of 400 pages, and we have 4-page courses. So again, if you can dream it up and map it to something, we can pretty much handle it as far as rendering the courses. As far as rendering the courses go, this is using a player skin. This is using that parchment player skin. Remember, I mentioned you can always preview a course with different player skins. I'm not going to do that because it takes a few minutes, but you can certainly do that as well. Scoring options, you can be point-based, it can be percentage-based, but there's a lot of different aspects that you can come to when it comes to the overall course and completion statuses. I didn't want to talk about the hybrid course because I mentioned one of the pillars of CourseAvenue is, well, how do I let people customize my course? And I mentioned that the solution is to design that into the process. So if I check this, I can't check it on this course because we don't have a role of permission. So I'll probably show that under a different area. But if I had the right permission, I could actually check this box, which what would then happen would be is I could then set permissions on pages, sections, or lessons. I want to distribute a course, but I really don't want them to change these pages because it's basically foundational federal law. You can customize it, but please don't. You don't want to change these things. Again, that's optional. That's just an example. You can give a course to someone, let them change everything, or you can limit your situation where they can maybe update just the introduction and the welcome pages and the thank you pages or other aspects of the course. So that's why this is actually, it's a module that we turn on or off for given customers. In this case, the CDC didn't make sense to have this, so that's why it's not turned on. But that's what that's all about. I did also want to touch on a unique feature of the product called Analyze. Now, this is either the greatest thing you've ever heard or like, oh gosh, that's a problem. If it's a problem, you just turn it off. But let me show what it is. Analyze, we saw a problem with Scorum early on, Scorum even up to 2004, is getting those individual responses from learners. It's like, I really want to know, I have a knowledge check. What if everyone's getting it wrong? Well, think about that. How many courses have been built that have knowledge checks and that people have really no idea, is everyone missing knowledge check question 5? Or what is it, right? And so what we have the ability to do is turn on Analyze. And if it's turned on, what it is as the learners are going through the course, their responses are being sent back to CourseAvenue servers. Again, is that an issue? Well, it's not for the CDC and the USDA and the FAA. And basically, all we're trying to do is better the development process. So if I look at any given knowledge check question here, let me see here. Okay, we have a quiz. I drill down, click on the analytics, and I've had 39,000 distinct learners, 107,000 responses. The average score is 95 on this particular exam, so it's pretty darn high. Fascinatingly, the latency, the average time spent in the exam is like 25 seconds. If I click on a given question, I get a real drill down. The average latency is, wow, on this one's 39 seconds. So I don't know why the latency is so variable. But if I go down here, I can see the most recent responses, and I can see the average latency. These people are getting it right, and this person got it wrong. And no. And ironically, they spent a long time on it, right? I don't know if they went out for coffee or whatever it is. But the ability to actually have this information to make the courses better. Again, the average score of the exam is 80%. Yeah, but 90% of the people are missing the same 5 questions, right? That'll tell you something. Even down to the survey. And so, rating surveys, these are all built in. You can use your whatever survey you want, and these are really recent, right? As of like yesterday. Great, solid. Of course, I like showing the ones that people like the course. Even an open-ended survey. And so the notion of, right, I can't, it always drives me crazy. People build all these courses, then they have a Survey Monkey link at the end. I'm like, oh, that's kind of lame. So this is a completely integrated course with knowledge checks, a final exam, a mastery score, and the like. And let me think. I think that's all I'm going to talk about as far as this course. I can now talk a little bit more about the actual page layouts and those kind of things. But I don't want to mess with the CDC's courses because this is a particular course. In this case, we went with this kind of pirate theme, if you will, and letting him visit all the different destinations of security awareness. So that was this theme. I want to show a few other things about within the editor, and I'm going to step out of the CDC so I don't mess with their course. But that's all for right now, and so I'll be right back. Okay, now that I'm out of the CDC organization, I'm going to take a quick look at I made a copy of a demo course that we have on the federal records management, and a couple things. One is I talked about the properties of a course and hybrid and all the things this can do. Well, if I turn this on, again, not a full-blown demo, but just the properties of the tree now change because now I have areas I can lock down or set permissions on. So maybe in this particular section, I want to click the locks, and I could distribute this to a customer and allow them to add. Maybe I can't modify what we did, but I want to let them add their own pages or let them do both. In either case, again, there's always a case where I want to distribute a course to a customer and let them do everything. That's fine. We do recommend probably from a best practices standpoint, having some control and actually designing in, as part of the ISD process, designing in where you want to let people modify pages and content. It just becomes a bit more easier to manage. Without looking at other things, just real quick, this particular course, we look at the rendering. Editing a course is very straightforward, and it's meant to be, if you can edit WordPress or a PowerPoint, you can edit our courses. It's a very simple, intuitive editor here. I mentioned the media library. Well, if I go to insert a image into this page, right, what's it going to do? It's going to bring up the media library. And then all those connections we talked about, if I use a particular image, we know where it's used on what page and those kind of things. So that's an integrated aspect of the product. Something else people talk about, interactivity. And this page is just text only and very simple. I want to put some media on the right-hand side. Feel free to do that. I'm going to change where this is anchored to. Actually, I'm going to open up a thing called the page window. It's a more kind of WYSIWYG open editor. So if I go up there, I turn on this. I want to give this more space. In here, maybe we want to, select something from the media library, a video package, a YouTube video, whatever it is. Or if I want to make interactivity, you could use an interaction. I'm not going to go through all these, but you want to let a hotspot image drag and drop, flip cards, accordions. You can see there's a whole variety of different things that you can do in here. So not going to go through all these, but it's just to say that they are there. One key aspect of the product, I'm not going to save this page. I'll get out of page window mode. Go to, I think it was page 4. I'm not going to save this. And in this particular case, this accordion. So we have an accordion interaction, and what happens is a property of the accordion interaction is enable navigation once they've gone through all 4 or 5 of the areas. So at the top of the page, we say course navigation will be enabled once all the laws have been selected. It's simply a property of an interaction is what do you want to do once they've interacted with everything. And then you'll notice the next button's grayed out here. And all we have to do is I disable navigation by stopping it by saying they can't go forward. The whole point here really is it doesn't take a programmer. But the real point is also if you do have programmers and you do want to let people really get in, we have a complete API to the product. So if someone chooses blue to answer to question 3 and you want to text somebody, you could literally do that by using our API. But again, that's an advanced case. Our bulk case is letting people create interactive, pleasant looking, fully, in this case, there's audio on this page, media rich courses without programming. So with that, I did want to mention, I did want to do as a preview of the course. So I can say file preview. In this case, I did it. Remember, I talked about all those seemingly hours ago, right? I did all the player skins. Well, in this case, I'm building this course. I want to see how it looks full. I may sell it to HHS. I may sell it to the USDA or the state of Texas. I can preview it in any of these different player skins. So right now, I'm just going to use the federal player skin. And again, the notion of the menu. This course is very simple. It's one section, one lesson, and it actually has the audio on there. And let's go here. One of the things that we didn't show, but there's full-blown, these are glossary terms. And how are these managed and maintained? Again, I like showing, here's the finished look, if you will, of the glossary, fully integrated with as you put text in, we actually automatically do the hyperlinks. And then the notion of actually just maintaining the glossary, well, it's right here. There's no code involved. And if you want to edit this, you can do that as well. Just to kind of wrap things up, reference item editor is a role. And so again, depending on your organization, Bob, he's the guy we want to run all the glossary terms by. He's the official guy that knows the terms. Well, add Bob to the team and let Bob maintain just the glossary. Bob doesn't have to be an instructional designer, does not have to be a graphic specialist, but let that person that does know in persnickety about terminology, let them edit and maintain the personality or the glossary terms. Again, just an example of something you may want to use in a course. And again, in this course, it's a very simple one section with a couple different lessons in there, and the glossary terms, and then tools. These are job aids or learning aids. If you want to have the PDF attachments or whatever, you can, or hyperlinks or whatever you want to put in the tool section that gets actually distributed with the learner to the learner as they're taking the course, you can put in there. So again, that's about it. Interactivity, easy to use, and a rich set of interactions. You can create just about any course you want. And along those lines, we talk about proven capabilities. I think I mentioned this at one point in time, but we did put out a press release last week or so that it's really impressive. The USDA published 31,727 pages of accessible e-learning content in 1 year. And so if there's any question about our scalability, usability, and those kind of things, well, I think that number, we wouldn't put out a press release announcing that if we couldn't back that up, right? And so we're proud of that. The USDA is a unique organization in that they do have one enterprise LMS, and we do service hundreds of people, including companies or organizations like University of Wisconsin, who builds content for the USDA using the CourseAvenue Studio instance. So all for now. Hopefully that wasn't too long, and I look forward to continuing our discussions, or any discussions, about CourseAvenue Studio and then in particular Syndication Manager moving forward. Thanks for your time, and have a good rest of your day. See you. Bye.